Man, I'm just brain dead. I really can't think today. Um, yeah. Did you sleep well, Brandon?
Oh, no. I've been actually having a lot of nightmares lately.
Oh, really?
Pretty bad. Oh, yeah.
Jeez.
You still dream though, right? I know some people
All the
that don't.
time.
Some people I know don't dream at all, or
I almost never do anymore.
I had a dream and I got so angry. And I woke up angry this morning. I don't know why. I was just very furious.
so I've had incidents like that too, where my dream just I emotionally wake up invested. Um, it's weird. It's definitely weird. Um,
I miss dreaming. I couldn't tell you the last time I had a dream, or at least I mean I'm sure I do. I just don't remember them, I guess. But
I dream every night and I lucid dream pretty much all the time. I can't quite control it, honestly. Lucid dreaming does not mean, oh, I'm going to make myself fly. Yes, lucid dreaming is how you do that stuff. Lucid dreaming is just an awareness that you are dreaming and you're observing it while it's happening. So I do it all the time. And I usually just let it play out like a movie, but um, sometimes I interfere where I'm like, no, 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 let me make this decision. But yeah, I can't help it. It just happens all the time. And
Yeah,
then
I definitely have the same issue.
yeah, and I try not to get into the whole dream interpretation thing, but I kind of fall under that pseudoscience belief umbrella, whatever. I don't
of
know
what?
if you have like reoccurring themes and imagery.
Why don't we talk about this? Is this what are we doing this?
Oh yeah, yeah, we're doing it.
Dreams.
We're doing it right now.
Oh, okay.
Say hi, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered Pineapple. I'm uh, one of your hosts today, Dean, joined by my good friends Brandon. Say hi.
Hi.
Joined by Orik
Oh,
and special guest friend Sean.
Hello.
Hello, yeah. Yeah, I dream all the time. So, I forget if I just said it 10 seconds ago because I'm tired, but this is Unfiltered Pineapple. I'm really good at this intro stuff. I've had plenty of practice by now. I've got a real formula down.
yeah, it almost sounds as though you just woke up and decided you had to do a recording.
Yeah, no, I've been up for 6 hours. I've been brain dead for like the whole time though. Anyways,
Oh,
you don't you don't dream anymore, Sean. Why is that?
I have no
I know
idea.
a couple
They just
people.
stopped eventually, and maybe college sometime
Yeah.
after college. I mean, they still happen occasionally, but it's very infrequently. Like every couple months, maybe I have one that I actually remember having a dream.
Okay, interesting. Yeah,
My
for
girlfriend, she dreams all the time, but not me.
I know some people they like sleep with salts or crystals and they've stopped dreaming once they started doing that, but they were also having like tons of night terrors constantly. So, um and then I've met other people that have done that also, and they weren't having night terrors, but they were just having restless sleep. So the crystals and salts and whatnot actually helped give them better dreams. So I'm not quite sure the science to that or if it helps, but for some people it works and others it doesn't. But have you ever had sleep paralysis?
Yes,
Yeah. What was it
I
like?
used to. I used to get it. All right, like every so often. This was even less frequently than I dream. I haven't had it in years,
Okay.
but I would wake up. It's just like in the middle of the night, would wake up to like this kind of time like you think maybe you got to go to the bathroom or something, but you just can't move.
Yeah.
Like it takes every ounce of your willpower just to like try to get myself to like turn over.
Or make a
I mean,
noise. Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had it happen in many years at this point, but it's happened before. It's kind of scary when it happens.
Yeah, it is. It happens very infrequently with me. I had it about a month ago, actually. I think I've already said this, but I was just like, I woke up and I was like, I know for a fact that I am in the middle of sleep right now and I am fully awake, eyes open. And I was like, for most people, they'd be scared. For me, I'm just fully aware that I was dreaming. Now I'm semi awake and I gotta like somehow get myself to move. And it is a little bit scary, but being aware of what's going on makes it less scary because I'm like, yeah, I'll wake up at some point or I'll fall back asleep and then reset myself. It's weird. Um, Brandon, Orik, you guys ever have sleep paralysis or a specific dream that has? I mean, you got really angry from one dream. Do you remember what it was? Why it triggered you so hard?
No, not necessarily. So I remember my dreams as soon as I wake up, but afterwards, I can't really. Excuse me. I can't really think of what happened after a certain point, unless it's like that, like
Morning.
defining for me. It it'll get me that way. For example, I've had like a dream where I was swimming and I swam underwater. I got stuck under a boat and I drowned and I woke up with sweats, breathing heavy. So I've had like dreams that are like that extensive where they just mess with me in that
Yeah.
sense.
I have off the wall dreams constantly, so it's really funny. I remember one. I think it was like a year ago. I had a dream where I was specifically the French countryside, which I have never seen or been to, but I just remember I woke up and I was like, that was the French countryside. It was like a weird journey to the center of the earth or kind of action film thing where I'm driving on a road and there's a bunch of trees on my right side. We're in like a weird Jeep jalopy thing. I don't know who we is. Um, this is the end of the dream too, and just you see like rolling grass hills and plains and whatnot, and this kind of maybe it gives off a little bit of like SCP vibes, but um, and just over the hills, sort of chasing us, but also flanking us is just these massive, massive like horror film earthworms with the spiral teeth and everything, just ripping through the countryside in the distance, like monstrously tall. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Um, I don't
Do
remember.
you
We were running away slash chasing them at the same time. It was weird. And I remember that dream vividly, and I don't know why. Um, my dreams go crazy. I used to. There was one where so I have this reoccurring one. I don't know why. Um, so you guys ever have reflexes like you just randomly throw a punch, or people that trip out of bed, kind of a stuff?
I don't punch while I sleep, but yeah, I do have reflexes now and then. Nothing that jars me awake.
All right.
I'm a mover in my sleep. I move around.
Yeah, you naturally move. I'm talking about like in
move a
reaction to
lot.
something you dream about. For me, I have this reoccurring dream. I've never talked about this, where like you're walking on a sidewalk, and like you step on the curb of it, and your foot slips, and you like roll your ankle a little bit, and you trip down on the sidewalk. Anytime I see that coming in my in my dream, I'm like, oh shit, here we go again. Because what happens is I'm walking. I walk towards to walk on the lip of the sidewalk. My right foot rolls on it, so I trip, and then I always just jerk awake, and my leg just kicks, um, as if I actually did just trip, and I was trying to catch myself. That happens not often enough, but it's a pattern where I'm like, oh, I know what this is. It's easily happened dozens of times. Um,
Yeah, I have dreams that affect me, but I'm not sure like if I do anything prior to it,
I,
like when I wake up.
That'll just happen randomly. It'll just like the dream will just transition into that walking scene, and I'm like, oh, crap, here we go. Um, but
Well, I got a question.
otherwise, I'm totally motionless when I sleep. What were you saying?
I got a question. So like when you were talking about your like dream where you're like running away from the earthworms and stuff like that, do you think that like nowadays just seeing like a lot of movies and other things like that affect your dreaming and like how your thought process goes in your lucid dreaming, you know?
Oh,
For example, if
definitely.
you see superheroes, it opens up your mind to lucid dreaming. Like I wonder like back in the day for people that used to lucid dream, they probably just thought of like normal day life or something like that.
Probably they were
Like
Supposedly,
whatever they
supposedly people.
fantasize.
Sorry,
Oh, you're good.
I said supposedly people prior to color television dreamt in black and white.
I don't believe
that'd
that.
be
I
kind of
don't
wild.
believe that. I know
Yes,
That'd be wild.
I've asked my grandparents. I was like, when you see pictures of black and white, you're like, what was it like living in a world that was black and white? Because I didn't understand that. As a kid, I thought the world was just black and white until the camera invented color. Um, so I was like, it didn't make sense to me, and our grandma would just laugh and be like, "No, there was color back then. It was like you can see right now. It was just the cameras only could take two colors." Um,
in interesting dream fact. When you're dreaming, generally speaking, you're in what's called REM sleep,
Rapid eye
and
movement. Yeah.
yeah, and during REM sleep, your brain is awake, but your body's paralyzed, so you can't move.
Is that when
So
sleep
technically,
paralysis usually happens? Is in the middle of REM sleep, and that's why people feel stuck?
sleep paralysis actually generally occurs in the other stages of sleep.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, but another on the same kind of thread, I guess. I was just learning about these drugs or medications that like anesthesiologists use. They're called neuromuscular blockers, and they
Okay.
basically do the same thing. If they give this drug to you, it you will be completely paralyzed, and while you're awake. So imagine, so when they're treating people, they
Mhm.
have to make sure they knock you out first. They put you to sleep before they give it to you,
Yeah.
because imagine how terrifying it would be to be completely paralyzed, unable to move, but you're still awake. You know things are going on. You can feel pain. So like
It's like being in a
the
coma. People
yeah.
that are conscious when they're in a coma. Yeah.
So,
Oh
sounds
man,
like some of the stories Matt can share.
don't
Yeah.
even get me started on locked in syndrome, where people that's probably the scariest syndrome I've learned about, where you are the only thing you can do is potentially blink. Like there are stories of people that have been locked in their own brain for like decades
Yeah.
before medical professionals realized that they were actually awake instead of being in a coma.
Interesting. So that's separate from a coma.
Yes,
It's not like
you
a
are
side effect or something. Or it's
you've basically just separated your brain from your body, and you can't move at all. There's actually a movie based off of a book, I believe, that was written by a journalist. I don't remember his name. That wrote the book while he is currently, and I don't know if he's still alive, but he had locked in syndrome, and to write the book, he had someone show him like a every letter in the alphabet, and he would just blink or move his eyes to indicate what letter, and they did letter by letter for an entire book to get through an entire movie, and about his experience with locked in syndrome.
Jeez. Is there a way to diagnose it other than like to be able
You
to
just
tell?
have to look. You're normally someone that's going to appear to be in a coma, and then yeah, you could. I don't think off the top of my head that you can diagnose it by blood test or anything like that. It's
So
mostly just observation.
so if
And
you see the eyes and whatnot reacting or trying to make
yes,
contact, then that just tells them, oh, that's not a coma. So the
mhm,
initial diagnosis would be coma, and then they're like, oh, it's actually locked in syndrome because it's pretty much identical.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I never heard of that. I just assumed it was like a coma, but you're just kind of awake, and I guess I never fully understood what a coma was. I thought you just didn't have control.
No,
Well,
and
you're
locked
knocked
in
out for
syndrome,
sure. You don't remember stuff. Okay, yeah, that does make a
you are
distinction
as
there.
alert in locked in syndrome as you or I are right now.
Interesting. So not
You just
very.
can't move. Exactly.
So, yeah, I didn't know that. Um, yeah.
That was an
That just
awkward silence.
well, that just took me off. That I totally lost what my train of thought was because I was definitely interested in what Sean presented, but I was like I don't even remember exactly what I was trying to say before, and then because I my world of comas just kind of changed. I realized just how little I knew about them.
That was very interesting though.
Yeah, I realized how
Like,
little I was
didn't
aware.
know that was a thing.
Yeah, look up locked in syndrome. Look at there's a movie that's apparently really good.
I
I haven't
actually
seen
heard
it.
of all that before. I didn't know that it was called locked in syndrome. I just know the story and I've heard of those things before.
Is a prerequisite for locked-in syndrome you have to be in a coma or some sort of paralysis, or could it just happen intermittently and for very infrequent, like short bursts? Like, could some people's instances of sleep paralysis be called locked-in syndrome at times, and they just don't know it? Or
No, that wouldn't be a locked in syndrome. My understanding is I think you're gonna have been in some kind of coma or some kind of traumatic brain injury is what it's called.
okay,
Like you get in a car accident or something,
yeah,
knocks
yeah.
put you in a coma, and I don't think we really understand the like I guess the fancy word the pathophysiology is technically I think of how it works or what specifically is broken. I'm sure some researchers know more than obviously what I'm telling you now, but
Okay.
it's I think something traumatic, generally speaking, as far as my understanding,
Okay.
generally occurs
It's not something
first.
that would just happen then. Okay.
Yeah, and then you're just in a coma where you just what they assume you're in a coma, and you're just not waking up.
But you know that brings up a question on my mind now. Do you guys have any stories or any experiences where something wakes you up and then you can't fall back asleep, whether external or internal?
Hold on. Orik, stop. We can't hear you. There's too much noise, whatever you're doing, or whatever's going on around you.
Hear me now?
Try talking again.
Hear me now?
Yeah, you're very quiet now.
Don't know why. I haven't moved away from the mic.
All
That
right.
better?
Say it again. You were asking about stories of what?
You guys, if some of you guys don't dream, I am one of those who dreams and remembers my dreams, and I'm actually a lucid dreamer too. But do you guys have things that wake you up and either keep you awake, or you go back to sleep and you realize you have an entirely different set of dreams now, whether internal or external factors? For me, I wake up through external noise and stuff. I really don't wake up to use the bathroom. I have some blood pressure complications. So if it's something outside my body that wakes me up, I go back to sleep and I just get back to dreaming what I was doing before I went back to sleep.
Oh wow,
I can't go back to the same dream, no matter
I can't.
how hard I try. Yeah. Which sucks, because almost every dream of
Oh,
mine that's good.
sometimes I can. Sometimes I can. Not all of them.
I could sleep through a freaking tornado.
I can't.
just once I fall asleep, I'm out.
I'm a light
Nothing's
sleeper.
gonna wake me up. You could do whatever you want.
For me it depends. Of course, like if you have to use the restroom or whatever, that's one thing entirely. But I've also, like I said before, I've been woken up from dreams. Like I woke up angry from my dream today. I went back in that dream. I don't know what I did after that, but I was not happy at all.
You went to go settle a score. For me, mine are always like, my best dreams are like, normal movie sitcoms and stuff. And yes, I do think modern media has an impact on my dreams. I'll get to that in a second. But my dreams, they always end like just before the third act is over, and I get to see what the climax and the big conclusion is for whatever I'm doing or whatever I was watching in my dream. And then so I just never get a happy ending, or I just never get an ending for my dreams.
Same here. Same here. I get all the way to the end, and
just before the climax. So it pisses
that's
me
when
off.
the lucid part's like, oh, this is going to be a good ending. Let's see how this dream ends. And then I can't ever get to the finale. Yeah, I always wake up and everything I slept and dreamt on was lucid at the end, so it never concludes. But then I can remember it and recount it to people that same day, next day, or obviously in some cases, weeks, months, years later.
For me, I realize that when I dream, like if I watch a cool movie or if something happens in my life, normally it's not that night that I'll dream about it, but the next night, or 2 nights later, whatever happened in real life will make its way into the dream. If it's going to be in a dream, that's when it happens. I'm not like, oh, 2 years ago this happened. No. Yeah. For recent events or something I watched or saw, yeah, it'll make its way into my dreams 1 or 2 nights later. I figured that out.
I don't have that happen to me. I could be in a car crash. It's not going to be on my mind when I go to sleep anytime that same day or week. It's maybe years later I have a dream where that's involved, but whatever affects me the day of rarely makes it into my dreams that night.
Maybe alcohol induced, or maybe not. I know Brandon's got some stories, but you ever fall asleep somewhere and then wake up somewhere else?
What do you mean by that? Like,
could
you
be
clarify a little more?
Yeah, it could be.
What do you know that he doesn't know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know
I'm a little confused.
one time, I know several times I fell asleep on the couch in college, and I remember I would tell my roommates and Sean to be like, hey, if I'm ever asleep on the couch, wake me up, because I want to go to bed and wake up in my bed. I don't want to wake up on the couch. And he can probably tell better a couple times, but I would fall asleep on probably one of the most comfortable couches in the world repeatedly, and they would try to wake me up, and I would physically just be like, no.
College?
What?
In college, you said?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a good couch.
Yeah, everyone fell asleep on it, but I remember Sean specifically telling me one time that like he went to wake me up and like I swatted his hand or I said no, I want to stay here. Um, because definitely in college, if I woke up not in my bed, not that I didn't drink, but if I was just tired a lot, and if I didn't wake up in my bed, I would wake up grouchy and angry, and I didn't want that. Um, but whenever people would try to wake me up, my body, I don't remember saying stuff I said or anything, but they would be like, "Yeah, you just held a conversation for a couple minutes, and then you just didn't get up, or you said no, I want to stay here," and I'm like, "No, I wasn't conscious for that." Um,
Oh, I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely do that.
But
But that's not like that's not.
there were times where
Go
I would
ahead.
like fall asleep on a roommate's couch or my bad, a neighbor's couch or something, and then I would wake up in my room and I'm like, how did I end up here? Um, like I was intentionally aware that I was like gonna pass out for like a nap for an hour or so, but I would just wake up and walk to my room, like sleepwalking, I guess technically. It's the only time I've really ever sleepwalked, I think, because I was so deprived. Uh, that would happen a few times in college, so that was an interesting experience. But
I've never sleptwalked.
it was never alcohol induced for me at least.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
sleptwalked, but I have woken up. I frequently wake up with my head where my feet were.
Just,
Like I
Oh
flip
yeah, I'm
myself
definitely
I
a
know
mover.
completely
Brandon
around.
rolls around a lot, but you like
And I mean, I'm not alone in bed. Like I have my girlfriend, so I'm like I only have really half a bed, like a twin size kind of thing. It's really my like area on the bed almost. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
like
I
most people.
somehow still managed to flip myself all the way around. Don't know how that happened.
I've done that a couple times as a kid, but I've never. I don't do that regularly. I like
I
Brandon
don't
said,
have
he
that
rolls
problem.
around a lot, but I don't think he's ever tried to like eat his own feet.
My
No,
siblings.
I haven't.
Oh, go ahead. I'll talk in a moment. Go ahead.
I've never tried to eat my feet before, but like going back to what you asked me, like where you were like, "Oh, do you do this?" A lot. I think it's also because of work induced, where I just fall asleep anywhere. Like I've had times where I'm just like chilling and I just fall asleep on the couch
Yeah, your
or a
massive
chair.
beanbag. You slept in your beanbag way too much.
Do you how much sleep would you say you get on average, Brandon?
When I'm working, I probably get maybe like 5 to 4 hours. When it's my off day, I
See,
try to catch up.
I bet you that is a reason why you get a lot of nightmares. Because so when you have nightmares, that occurs during REM sleep, and
Hmm.
when you're not getting enough sleep, REM sleep is where you're like really recovering, right? So
Okay.
you there's something called REM rebound. You may have heard that term before. But when you're not getting a lot of sleep, normally REM sleep is at the end of a 90-minute sleep cycle. That's how long a sleep cycle is. So if you want to get like a really good amount of sleep and feel better, you want to sleep at least 90 minutes. 20-minute nap is good. That's going to get you something. But if you're really so
Oh,
if you want to time out your sleep, so like if I really want to get a good amount of sleep, you want to sleep 90 minutes or 180 minutes, whatever. You want to go in cycles like that so you complete the full cycle, roughly speaking.
I've heard that. I've heard
Um,
about the 90
but if
minute
you,
interval thing.
yeah, but if you're not getting enough sleep, so you're not getting enough REM sleep, your body will just jump straight into REM sleep basically right away. And so you could be getting a lot of nightmares because of that. If you're not getting enough sleep regularly, your body's gonna jump straight into REM, and then you might be just more prone to nightmares than other people. And because you're in REM
That's
sleep,
that's something that's guaranteed to happen to anyone, or just is that like on a person by person basis? Because
the REM
I,
rebound is guaranteed. That's if you're not getting enough sleep, you're gonna be
is
jumping
it?
into REM more likely.
I guess my question is it going to force you to have nightmares? Is that going to be
Oh
actual?
no,
No. Okay, I was going to say because there was a period of time where I was getting 4 less hours of sleep a night every night, 6 days a week, working multiple jobs and stuff, and I never had nightmares and I never had problems like
no,
that. Like I'd go to sleep, I'd wake up when I needed to, I'd be tired, but I didn't have nightmares or conditions of that nature.
no. It
Okay.
doesn't
Well,
guarantee like uh
It's
nightmares per
not. It's
se.
not cause and effect. It's not a cause and
No,
effect.
no. You're just
Okay.
Brandon might be more prone to nightmares or something in general. And within every 90-minute sleep cycle, you will hit 4 stages of sleep, 1 through 4, and you will hit REM. every time, every 90 minutes. REM gets longer the longer you're asleep. So towards that, when you're about to wake up, REM is going to take up a significant larger portion of that 90 minutes than it would in the very first cycle. But that it doesn't make you. It's just when you're going to dream. It's when you're going to get your nightmares, and then it's up to your own brain physiology to
Yeah,
maybe you
gotcha.
have more nightmares or just good dreams or whatever it is.
Gotcha.
Well, like my sleep's kind of jacked up anyways. Like I've been swapping like from being on days and nights. Like my sleep's always jacked up. So I think it's just a culmination of everything for
Absolutely.
me.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But
If your sleep's all kind of messed up, then you're putting yourself into a lose-lose situation with sleep and rest and things like that in some ways, which
oh yeah,
albeit is out of
I
your
believe it.
control.
Yep. Oh, but yeah, I mean, REM. Like I said before, like as far as dreams go, I can remember maybe like five on top of my head. But I guess like as far as like REM dreaming, if my brain either doesn't like it or it just wasn't that memorable, I'll just drop it. I just won't remember it again. It's just that type of weird effect for me.
I remember dreams from like third grade and whatnot. I remember lots of mine. I don't even have a dream journal. Um,
Yeah, same.
I, I just retain that information for some reason. I guess I'm just really involved in the stories when they happen.
I'm not.
I
And
just
my body's like, yeah, keep track of this one. Put it in the notebook.
Put it in long-term storage. That's a keeper.
Yeah, pretty much. Real quick, I mentioned this earlier. My siblings, some of my younger siblings have watched me sleep before, so I would come back from work or whatever I was doing, I'd lay down and I'd be motionless when I sleep. I'm usually motionless when I sleep. There's one time I got woken up by my mom. She's like, okay, yeah, I figured you were alive. I was like, what happened? She's like, well, your siblings saw you literally sleep with your arms crossed like you're in a coffin. You didn't move for 40 minutes. And I said, they watched me for 40 minutes and they didn't try to poke me. Like, yep. So they asked me to come check on you. I was like, yeah, I know I'm awake. I was tired.
speaking of that situation, I've seen when I used to, I seen somebody fall asleep with their eyes open. It's probably the most weirdest thing you ever see.
I used to try to do that. I thought it'd be funny
Yeah, I
just to be
tried
able to.
training myself to do that.
It'd be funny just to be able to pull that trick off, if you could.
From a medical standpoint, don't do that. You're gonna dry out your eyes, and that's gonna hurt a
Obviously,
lot.
yeah, I don't try it anymore because I figured that much out. But when I was younger, I was like, oh, that'd be a funny prank. Oh, yeah, that's not. Have you ever pranked anyone while they're sleeping? I've done that. Not like to harm them, but like when they wake up.
I've always wanted to do the hand in warm water trick, but I've never done
Oh,
it.
is that to make them pee?
Absolutely.
When you said
You can
hand,
always
the
try
first
it
thing
to
I think of is
yourself.
shaving cream. That prank with the feather.
Yeah, that'd be funny too.
What were you saying, Orik?
I was just making a bad joke that he can always try it on himself if he can't find someone else.
No.
But who did this?
Try it on your
what I-
girlfriend.
I don't know. She might get upset with me, and
Just be like,
then
yeah,
I'd have to
this
then
is
I'd have to sleep in that pee bed.
this is for class.
it's a waterbed. Don't worry about it.
It's testing.
The No, I was gonna say I have been involved in a little bit of pranks with sleeping. Also, been one to uh, be pranked while sleeping. Primarily, though, what I was gonna say is primarily though, I don't wake up and like immediately start my day usually, even though I'm dreaming. The part that's lucid for me is I'll know I'm dreaming, and then I'll be conscientious I'm awake. I'm no longer sleeping, but I don't move. I pretend I'm sleeping. People will be walking around, making all this noise, talking to me and everything. I don't react. I don't move. So in a sense, quote unquote, I'm a deep sleeper to some people. But I'm very good at just being motionless and ignoring people, even though I'm trying to sleep and trying to wake up.
Oh,
So I
like,
do have
yeah.
that kind.
I do that sometimes too. Right when I wake up, I'll just act like I'm still asleep.
I know I'm awake, and I'll lay in bed for 2, 3 hours, not moving, not reacting, just trying to dream or get lost in thought. But I don't go back to sleep.
Yeah. Um.
I get. I guess that's the transition to lucid part. I just wanted to bring that up from earlier. But going back to pranks, a lot of the pranks I do involve messing with people before they go to bed. I don't like messing with people as they wake up because I can kind of ruins some people's days, and you don't know how everyone's going to react to it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had Barry put into my bed before I sleep or when I'm asleep. Brandon, you've seen that a couple times. Tony did that one time when everyone was
That's because you
inebriated.
moved him.
Yeah.
You moved him originally, and he got you back for it. It was pretty funny. He did pretty smooth.
He did it very slyfully, and I just pandered to it and just played along with it because it hyped up it for everyone else. But I was like, oh, I've seen this half a dozen times already. It doesn't surprise me, but it was smooth. He did a really good job hiding it. For context, Barry is I was about to say pet. He's my roommate skeleton, like a Halloween skeleton. I got him from college.
Ex-roommate that he
Ex.
killed and skinned, all that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I just enjoyed being with him so much. I kept him.
Just the skeleton part.
Just the skeleton part.
The soft tissue is still out there walking around.
Soft tissue's already been processed. So, he's been put in my bed so many times. Side note, I kind of think he's haunted, but that's a different story.
How's Blue treating you?
Yeah, Blue. I haven't seen Blue in a while. She's been in the closet at with Barry at the parents' house for a bit. I haven't brought him over. I know Blue scared the hell out of you, so Barry scares the hell out of me. But we're on mutual terms now, so. But I used to use pranks with him all the time back in college. Sean, you probably remember some of them back in freshman year.
What was that?
Pranks with Barry. Just
Oh
ending
yeah,
up in
he
people's
was the
rooms.
best.
Yeah.
Real quick, one prank wasn't my room, but there was another room in my building, another suite in my college where all three roommates hated the fourth one. They all got randomly assigned, and the fourth one was doing laundry every night at like 3 a.m. and they'd go to sleep, and they just let the laundry machine go off for everyone else all night, and they wouldn't do anything about it. So one night the guy started his laundry, and he was a quick sleeper, a deep sleeper, so he got knocked out and got knocked out hard right away. So they opened up his laundry machine while it's soaking wet, and just slowly stacked it on top of him while he slept, and just played out all his clothes across the room and bathroom, and just his carpet was soaked, his bed was soaked.
Oh.
They had to call in. They had to call in maintenance to fix things because it was so bad. Like, yeah, we got him good. He doesn't do his laundry at night anymore.
I just remembered we used to, because so during like winter break and stuff, we have to leave the dorms. You can't be in the dorms, and then so they have RAs go and they check all the rooms to make sure people have left and whatnot. And we did this a couple times, and we got in trouble once. Sean, I think we were together one time. We left Barry there, and we left
In
the
the
TV
bathroom?
on. Yeah, and we left the TV on, and we put clothes on him, and we left him on the couch. So right when you walk in, you see a skeleton with clothes just staring at the just static TV. Lights off too. So when they turn it on, you just see it there. You can kind of see an outline of it with the TV on, but we had the actual lights off. And our other roommate, he ended up going back just in the middle of the week because he forgot something, and he found out that Barry had been moved from where we left him and whatnot because one of the RAs, when they opened the door, freaked out so hard that they ran downstairs out the building because the prank worked that well. So they wanted to get us back, and they moved him and tried to like hide him in one of our rooms and whatnot. Not put him away. They tried to actually set him up. And then so that was funny. And then we did it again.
I loved that that prank. That was the funniest shit.
Oh yeah. And then we did it again. We had him standing. We taped. Dylan actually stopped by. My friend Dylan stopped by, and we taped him to the wall so that it looked like he was standing because they opened up. They said they opened it up slowly, and they were like looking on the chairs and couches because it had happened before, and like, yeah, he wasn't there. So then they opened the door fully, and he's just standing there in front of the door. So so we one-upped them again. Those were good times.
Good times.
I woke up with 50 apples in my bed once. 53 to be exact. Between all layers of sheets and mattress pads and pillows.
I gave myself what I thought was water, but it was actually vodka in a water bottle.
Yeah, you woke.
Because
You woke.
because drunk Sean wrote sober Sean or hungover Sean in the morning a note saying, "Here's some water. You're gonna need it." And I took a giant swig, being incredibly hungover, wanting some water, only to realize it was not water. And if you've ever been hungover, you know, alcohol is the last thing you want after a night of alcohol drinking.
Especially since
And
you didn't take it like a shot. You just took it like a drink.
exactly. Oh my gosh, it was. I didn't throw up, but I wanted to.
Then we went and had buffet breakfast. That was good.
Those were the best mornings.
Yeah. Brandon, did you have pranks in college, or you've told me a couple of them?
I don't prank people in their sleep.
Not when they're sleeping, just in general. You've told me some good pranking stories. I'm pretty sure.
Pranking stories.
Or no, actually, I think
No,
it's just your roommates being themselves. Just your response to them, I think. But
yeah, I can't think of the top of my head, man. I really can't.
yeah, you're good.
On top
You're
of
good.
my head, like I don't usually prank. I usually don't prank people in their sleep, just because I know I would hate for somebody to prank me in my sleep. So that's why I don't do it.
Yeah, definitely. I usually avoid it. If anything, it's when they're sober or just not prepared. I was like, man, I used to have a lot of pranks happening to my bed in college specifically because people knew I wanted, like, that's where I slept, and no one was to touch my bed, so they would touch my bed.
Wait, do I start talking or you?
Anyways,
So,
this is
so
not a safe
side
space.
note.
what?
So side note.
Okay.
I've been seeing a lot of things on social media that's been like kind of like annoying as hell in a sense. Like with people complaining about every little detail of late. Like people can't even do like the normalest things of normal conversation without offending somebody. How do you guys feel about that?
Because like, kind of a little bit of relatability, like with the pranks and stuff. Me and my old roommates and dorm mates, we kind of had an mutual understanding and respect. Like, hey, don't do that again. That went too far. But otherwise, it was like pretty understood. But nowadays, if I did some of that stuff, I'd probably get in a lot more trouble with like RAs and administration and stuff. Not that I did anything bad, but some people would definitely be more sensitive about it, or be like, no, you shouldn't do that to them. And I'm like, they did it first, and they're okay with it. They laughed. I think some PC stuff.
Or what's even more
definitely
annoying?
getting a bit. I think some PC stuff is definitely getting a bit excessive or annoying about boundaries or detection.
Or what's even more annoying? Some people aren't even offended, but other people get offended for them.
Yeah, that's what I
Like
mean.
they try to be a social justice warrior.
The people I was doing pranks with, we had a mutual agreement and understanding that we're having fun. If something went a little too far, we would say it. Like, we took apart a roommate's, but I didn't.
He had a contractual obligation to understand what was and was not allowed.
Yeah, like
there were terms to this agreement.
We had we had hallmates take apart the bed of one of my suite mates and move it into the office room across the hall. And I didn't stop it. They knocked and asked, "Hey, can we come in?" And I said, "All right, whatever you guys do." And they went. So they spent like 3 hours doing this because they had to go get tools to get it out the room. They had to take the bed apart and then reassemble it in another room. And he got back at like 11 p.m. in the study room, and that study room has a light that always stays on when there's any movement. So anytime he would roll over or anything, the light would turn on. So that was a horrible night for him. But like, they had a mutual understanding and kind of respect for each other, and like they got along still after that. Nowadays, that definitely wouldn't fly. But there was also something that was messed up during that, where one of the females in the hall threw a used tampon on the bed also for some reason before he went to bed.
So I'll tell you right now,
That was
I
messed
kind of
up.
disagree with that statement of you thinking that people can't like happen today. I think it can. I just feel like the small percent of people just elevate it. Like I don't think a lot of people are this sensitive to things or this appalled about certain information. people 9 times out of 10 people don't care about them but themselves. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't think to myself like, oh, well, I said this. Now people are gonna be offended and I'm gonna get canceled. No, it's probably like 5% people are gonna cancel people. Like if you like an artist, for example, you're gonna listen to that artist regardless of depending on how jacked up it is. But
Yeah,
9 times out of 10, you're gonna still listen to that artist.
Hitler had some great art. He inspired a bunch of people. He was a failed artist.
Yeah.
He failed out of that's the joke. He failed out of art school, but people still followed him.
I don't recall the comedian that said it, but like, if you get offended by something, that doesn't mean I'm never allowed to say this thing ever again. Just if something I say offends you, one, you don't have to listen to me. Two, you got legs. Most people do. Walk away. Wheel yourself away if you don't have legs. Like,
I don't
go
think
somewhere
that was
else.
part of the joke, but I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the name, but I remember that sketch.
But it's just like, go somewhere else. It's a joke, or even if it wasn't, even if there is jokes, if you don't like what someone's saying, don't listen to them. This is
Tell that,
America.
tell that to Will
Go
Smith.
wherever you want. That was that was uncalled for. I mean, and I don't know. I honestly thought the joke was funny. I understand why she and he didn't like it, but that's that's where it comes from. I mean,
He was laughing.
I'm not. Yeah, he did laugh. There's video of it. But like I've seen like memes that people have sent me for like now I don't want to say 9/11 was an absolute atrocity, okay? But I've seen funny ass jokes about 9/11 because I can separate the horrible atrocity that was incurred from the what's the word I'm looking for? The irony of the joke. Like when you put this and this together, it makes a funny joke, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like dark humor.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think that
I feel like
they're taking it lighthearted or serious. They're just you can detach yourself from reality and see
Absolutely.
it from a different perspective of like, oh, that was a left turn that wasn't expected.
I'm not making fun of what happened at 9/11. I'm just using that to make some kind of funny, sarcastic side comment.
If anything, it's making fun of the perspective of the incident itself, not the incident itself, but how people perceive it or saw it or it was displayed in the media. It's like you're making fun of that specifically to get nuanced, not the event itself.
The
Yeah,
point of a
even
lot of
then-
comedy. The point of a lot of comedy is to make fun of a perspective, is to make fun of someone's perception of things. So that's why if you can distance yourself, you can enjoy a comedian or even just someone's different perspective, even if you don't agree with it. The problem is people don't like to associate with someone else's perspective. They want to be in their own bubbles, or in some cases, they just actually can't see things from someone else's perspective, which then scares them and gets them angry and infuriated that something's not the way they want it to be.
and people think that you have to, if there's a small chance that one person is going to have a negative reaction because they had a bad experience at some point in their life, that you're not allowed to make a joke or you're not allowed to say something. No, I completely disagree with that viewpoint. You can't, just because everything you say ever is going to piss somebody off somehow. Does that mean I'm never allowed to talk? No, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not, just because one person's gonna be mad. If my intention with a joke was to piss you off or to be a jerk to you, just to dig it in, that's wrong. But if it's just a joke and you get upset, that's on you.
Yeah, like if I were to call one of our friends an apple muncher because he eats the entire apple, core and seeds, that's not. I really am not too worried about him getting upset or offended by it because I'm just making an observation here.
He's an
That was the
apple
most
muncher.
that was the most manly thing I'd ever seen him do in my entire life.
He's a
I was flabbergasted when I saw him eat an apple from the bottom up, the entire thing. It was the most animalistic thing I've ever seen in my.
You know what he said about that?
No,
He
what?
said you don't eat the seeds when you eat it that way.
Huh. I've heard it's easier to eat. Or you can eat the whole thing. Like, the core is usually hard, but if you eat it from the bottom up, the amount of core that's in each individual bite, you don't even notice it, supposedly.
Story aside, I was just making a point in agreement that, yeah, you can give people nicknames and you can call them out on something that seems unusual, and they don't have to be offended or bothered by it just because that's their reality. They
Yeah,
don't.
we call Matt old man because he is. He's like a 68-year-old hanging out with us.
We heard him tell stories. He does it like a grandparent. He goes
Yeah.
from start to finish with all the details too. Every time.
But he plays along.
I'm just
He
saying.
makes the jokes himself. He knows it's a joke, and we obviously don't think he's old. We just like to joke about it because of some of his experiences that make him sound old.
Because he can distance himself from that perspective, and so can we. So we can take that
Well,
wide range of scope of it.
even then, though, you can make a bad moment into a fun moment. I think the worst moments that I've had, well, most of them can be pretty funny if you think of it in perspective. Like if you can laugh at your own mistakes at the end of the day. Like I tell people this all the time. What stresses you out today will make you laugh in a week or a month later. It's up to you what you take offensive.
Yeah, because
You
it's like
can't
you
take
put so
everything.
much. You're laughing because you put so much emotional weight into it at the time, and you're like, man, it really didn't matter that much afterwards.
Or even if it did matter that much, I mean, it's like
The moment's
hindsight. It was
passed.
pretty funny.
Yeah, the moment's passed. There's
Yeah, it's
nothing
not
really to worry
affecting me
about
anymore.
anymore. It's just something to reflect on and be like, man, that was a interesting time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, but as far as this whole PC culture thing, I feel like the usage in cell phones now has gotten worse for it. Like people would just filming everything or planning, or how most times nowadays, like the I guess would it be like Generation X or baby boomers are now being attacked because of how they used to hold how they were used to things running. Like for example, now we have Karens. I
Boomers
feel like that
boomer is a slur word now in a lot of areas where if you say that,
yep.
you get kicked. When it's just
You
baby
talk-
boomer. Yeah.
Sorry, just to make sure I caught on. Are you talking about how people are trying to record everything going on around them, or just that that's
He's
easily
touching on
accessible for
he's
people to
touching on
do?
two things at once. He's touching on that as well as like the
Well,
the
well,
name thing.
I was using that as an example as far as the Karen and baby boomers things. I was using like social media as a
Okay.
whole has now pushed over the whole PC culture agenda that's came out with
Gotcha.
recording and other things like that. Yep.
I completely agree. I think social media is, as a whole, probably a bad thing.
Agreed.
Except for the unfiltered pineapple social media. You guys should all subscribe to that.
Nah, that too. No, I'm
Very
just-
toxic.
30 dislikes.
Especially unfiltered pineapple.
Yeah.
Stay as far away from that one.
Oh my god, definitely. 30 dislikes minimal.
Keep away from the Chad pineapples. Just keep away from the Chad pineapples. Don't worry about them.
Yeah. Nah. But no, seriously.
So what part about the PC culture annoys you all the most? Is it just the content of how it works, or is it just
The
how
loud
pervasive it
minority
is and how much?
or how it's
I
working
mean,
or
like,
how it's
is
not
it
working?
is it the nature of how it works, or is it just how much of it there is that's going on? Like the magnitude of the scale of it all, or is the actual content that's being PC'd?
I would say this is my issue with it. I feel like the lack of forgiveness in most of society now for people making mistakes is ridiculous. And that they think that every person is not gonna have one mistake and come back from it. That's my issue with it. Now I get some people can do some really bad atrocities to things, but the fact that we can't forgive people for like small mistakes or like Twitter messages that they did when they were like 13 or 15 or 18 or 10 years ago, that's what bothers me the most
Or when
about
they
PC
didn't
culture.
have any knowledge about something and just made jokes out of ignorance, which TLDR, everyone's ignorant about something. You
Yep, I
you
agree.
can't know or understand something until you start dabbling into it. Once you start getting your toes wet, then you'll be like, oh, okay, I can see why this is offensive or something wrong, but with my limited knowledge, it's not. And so it comes down to like compromise and discussion. Now, if they're willfully ignorant, that's one thing. But PC culture helps with that if they're choosing to just stay that way. But
Well, and if I disagree with you, I'm now racist or homophobic or I'm something.
I was gonna make a joke.
We
knew that.
joke.
We
I
knew
was like,
that
how's
before
that
you.
any different? But that's not.
Yeah,
You're
we
not
knew
any
that
different.
before you started talking, but it's okay.
As soon as you started that caught my attention. Um, I think that just comes down. People use that a lot of words freely like that, but I feel like a lot of people are just like I guess I don't know if bigoted's the right word for it, but just very ignorant to the other side of the story
Well,
and whatever story fits their agenda.
We already previously discussed what bigoted means in an earlier episode, but I'll pull up the definition again in a second. It's not racist. That's not what it means.
No, bigot just means that you just don't care about other people's opinions politically or socially. And you don't care to like if I'm correct, I think it's like you just don't care to understand them. You know, like you hear what they're saying, but you don't care to understand what they're saying.
Yeah, a person who is obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, etc., especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic toward a person or people on the basis of membership to a particular group. It doesn't just have to be racist, obviously, but you could be a bigot towards.
Did you just pull up the definition of Christianity?
No.
Or are you sure? Are you sure that's bigoted, or did you just pull up religion?
You're just
Oh, boy.
intolerant to someone of different opinions and beliefs. That's it. And it doesn't have to be religion or politics specific. It could be like,
Like country music.
I don't think
Yeah.
scientists are real. I don't know. Bad example. Yeah, and you,
Me
you're,
either.
like,
I mean,
you can be a bigot towards country music listeners. You could.
oh, I definitely am, but that's besides the point. I would definitely say most America's like that when it comes down to social issues to begin with.
Against
That's our biggest
country
issue.
music
People just don't accept it. Like I don't think everybody's racist. I don't think everybody's like out to get the LGBTQ plus community or whatever that goes down there that line. I just think people just honestly do not care to change their beliefs or be open minded to anybody else's thought process than their own or people like minded as them. That's why we still have this whole political scale in the United States between red versus blue, or Black Lives Matter versus Blue Lives Matter, or All Lives Matter. It's a bunch of propaganda BS just to separate us. At the end of the day,
the reason for that is because it takes so much work and effort and energy and time to learn a different perspective, but mostly it's a personal journey where you have to be comfortable enough with yourself to be wrong with yourself, because often the biggest issue is people lie to themselves, and that's why they have confusion, because they're like, I don't know why I'm like this, or why they can't understand. It's because they're not comfortable enough with themselves, and they lie to themselves about what they think or believe, and that's where they get defensive and whatnot. Where if you have stake in the game, you're gonna get defensive if someone's opposing you. If you have no opinion at all and you're like new to a subject, you're not gonna get defensive or emotional about something and be like, oh, well, I don't think that's right when you hear something, unless it's something that you're related to. So when people get really defensive or whatever, or aggressive, it's because it's challenging something with themselves they may not agree with or they disagree with. They're not comfortable enough with themselves to know the truth.
I think a lot of people also think like, if they can explain, like even if I sit down and you try to explain to me something that I disagree with you on, all right, you lay out the whole thing, and I still come up and I still disagree with you. Like I understand where you're coming from, but I still disagree with you. A lot of people, I think that means I don't really understand what they're saying, that I don't understand, or because I've come to a different conclusion. You can tell me every step of the way of how you got from point A to B, but I can still disagree with you. The conclusion you've made based on all of the information you've laid out, and I don't think people understand that.
I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think what Brandon was touching on, though, is not people who refuse to change or don't have the capacity to understand how to change. It's people that are, as you mentioned, in neutral ground. They don't have enough information to take a position, or they're indifferent to making a position, and people get on them for that and critique them for that. That's where Brandon was talking about. You make a single mistake, and then suddenly things are ruined for you. I think, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was what your grievance was, though, is that you have a lot of these neutral position people who are being targeted when they're not trying to take a side, or they're trying to get more information before they take a side.
I think that's one of the most intelligent things people can do, is say that I'm not knowledgeable enough on this to even make an assumption, or you know what I mean?
But
I do that all the time.
That's definitely where it gets a little too far, though, is when they are attacking people that admit, I don't know enough, and it's like, well, obviously this is the extremists that are attacking the neutral people. Like, well, you should learn more and all that, and come help or take sides. That's obviously too far.
It turns from attacking to recruiting.
or because I don't know enough and I'm neutral on a topic, I'm assisting what they consider the bad guys, because I'm being what's the word I'm looking for? Since I'm not supporting their cause, that means I'm automatically on the bad side. When in reality, I just don't particularly care. It doesn't intersect with any part of my life.
Silent agreement.
Yeah, so
Yes, we agree. But going on to what you said, Sean, don't you hate it how it comes down to even skin tone? Like you can't just make an opinion. Oh, well, you don't like this. What's wrong with you? Like, for example, I've said before, and I'll say it now again, I don't think Black Lives Matter is a very good organization that is going for black people's rights. I feel like it's making a lot of black people sheeps. I feel like we get tired and keep asking for the US to help us out, and instead you should be helping yourself out. People should be doing their own jobs and building themselves up. No one's going to help you but you at the end of the day. You could try to rally behind a race if you want, but like at the end of the day, we have to get in there and do things on our own. You can't expect other people to fill your plight that have no idea what you're like. That's
I
just me.
I would agree with you. I've tried not to come up with. I feel like being a white person, I don't really. I don't know. Not that I don't get an opinion, because everyone gets an opinion on whatever they want to have an opinion on. Uh, but I try to. I don't know. I've tried to just kind of just let it ride. You know what I mean? Like, because it
It's
doesn't
better to
really
distance yourself
directly
from that.
impact. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, because being a person of African American descent, they automatically think, "Oh, what do you feel about Black Lives Matter, brother? Are you part of the thing?" And I get like certain things is a good idea. Like, sure, we should definitely go on marches and make our statements known, but that
Oh
shouldn't be
yeah.
the last part about it.
Oh
We
yeah.
should be educating the masses as a whole to fix the issues. Like if you asking for power, but you have no representation or not enough people in there to fix the solution, you're always gonna come with the same problems.
Yeah.
That's just how I came out with it. But I see I'm getting a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, that's my issue with just the whole PC culture, and even comes down to skin tone. It's just ridiculous.
I agree. I completely agree. It's it's an unfixable problem in many ways, unfortunately.
Um, yeah, because it kind of goes down to basic human nature of it's sort of like tribalism.
Tribalism.
Yeah, and we can't until we evolve where we no longer think and instinctually start behaving like that. That it'll always be a problem. So the only way to counter it is to increase awareness and education and knowledge about that specifically, but also the individual topics that come up that trigger conflicting beliefs and attacking sides and whatnot, and not being mutually respectful of each other. You can agree or disagree with someone and not be emotional about it. You can just be like, yeah, I will never see eye to eye on it, but it is what it is. I
That's the
understand them
problem.
better.
So many people.
Yeah. So that comes down to, I
Just
think,
so much.
education and stuff in general. Both from the school systems, but also from a parenting and
In
society
at home,
structure. Yeah. And a lot of
I agree.
people, as a proud not parent right now, I think I can correctly say a lot of people aren't parenting correctly. I don't think anyone will have an opinion about that.
Oh, you're
That's
starting up
probably
some
true.
fights.
As a proud individual, without ever raising a child, I think I can accurately say that people aren't raising their kids great. So
They're absolutely doing it wrong. I don't know what they're doing. Either they're just not spanked them enough.
They just need to change what they're doing. They need whatever they're doing is
how deep
not
a hole can we
working.
dig ourselves? They're not spanking their kids enough. They're not locking them away. They're not sending them to teen camps.
You're right. I definitely think that what's wrong with today's world is we're just not beating our children
Yeah,
enough. We
we're not
just
instilling enough fear in them of
it's not,
God.
you just
You
God
gotta
for my
fix it
hand.
one generation at a time.
kids haven't
Hey,
had enough concussions by the time they're graduating high school. They need
Yeah.
to, you really got to knock them around a little.
How else are they going to get good at football? So
I will say what kind of jumping off that. One weird segue. What people need to be able to speak about emotions more, but not speak through emotions more. That's where a lot of this comes from. Is people, as you guys have all mentioned, they're very emotionally driven. I understand you can be passionate about something, but you can't have a conversation where you're just, I'm happy, you're sad, let's keep talking. You don't talk through your emotions. You can't have a discussion with someone through emotions. You can be
Yeah.
emotionally connected and you can sympathize and empathize, but a conversation doesn't form both of you
Yeah.
being on
When
emotional extremes.
Const-
Any therapist,
constructive- yeah.
any counselor will tell you, hey, you guys are getting worked up. Let's take a break. That's not because the conversation's going great. Let's take a break and start again. It's the conversation's going bad because you can't talk like that. And people
Constructive
at a young
conversations,
age,
yeah. They you need to not be emotional about it, to have constructive conversations to resolve an issue or a misunderstanding. I
and at
never
a
partake.
younger age, people need to be taught that. People need to, and that's part of why I agree about the parenting aspect that you brought up, Dean, is that a lot of kids aren't, whether it's because their parents can't, a lot of kids aren't taught how to separate speaking through emotion and speaking about emotions. So by the time they're in high school and college, all they know how to do is go through extremes. And when
Yeah.
they become adults, all they do is go through extremes. They don't.
It
don't
is
have
Well,
Everything.
to
anything.
be fair, hold on. Be fair though. Are you telling me to try to control my kids' emotions? Because that'd be a whole different other argument there.
I'm
That'd be a
not
lot
saying
harder to
control
teach
their
a child.
emotions. No, I'm not saying control their emotions. Just help them to understand that there's a difference between speaking through emotion and speaking about your emotion. Because a lot of people only get into conversations when they get very emotionally driven. It's hard to find people to just talk about things casually and naturally, especially
I
as people get older.
I feel like it just comes down to the human nature. I don't think that's something most people can control.
No, that's
I
what I'm saying.
feel.
Don't control it. Get them to be aware of it, because that can
I mean,
save them
even
a
if they're
lot of
aware
headache.
of it, it's not gonna help the conversation though.
You have to you have to teach people. Like I was taught growing up that when you're feeling emotionally charged about something, if you have to be able to recognize when you are feeling that, and that is absolutely possible. And when
Yeah,
you are,
that's
you have
thank
to
you, Sean.
recognize
That's what I
that
was saying.
you may need to step away, think about it, because anything worth doing in the world is going to be emotionally charged by in some way, shape, or form. But then you have to use that emotion and come up with something logical that works. You have to use that emotion, come up with a logical plan of action or plan, and then act on it. And so same thing when I'm feeling emotionally charged about something. Sometimes that's helpful, but most of the time I need to take a step back, figure out what I need to do, how I need to say it, who I need to talk to, and then act on whatever it is. And
That's
Yeah,
people don't. A
that's
lot of
me.
people aren't
they
doing
already
that.
Yeah.
teach that at young ages and in school. They already teach people how to do some of that. So that's not a new practice. It's just not implemented the way it needs to, or it's been taken away from
I
current
hope they're not
curriculums or
teaching that
whatever
in
it
school
is.
because I don't think teachers should be teaching that. I think parents need to be the one.
No, that's a soft social skill you just kind of learn by going
Yeah,
through school. Where you
Yeah.
have that one kid in the back of the class that keeps screaming when they get angry. It's like, hey, go step outside, and when you want to come back in and talk, you can come back to the lesson.
yeah.
Something like that. Those are soft skills that people learn by going through school.
I'm the same way,
That's what I
Sean.
was
When I
saying.
get emotional or heated or angry, doesn't happen often, but when it does, I walk away. I go silent. If I'm
Mm.
really
And it's
upset,
not always easy.
yeah,
And sometimes I fail. A lot of times I probably fail. But
I may say something in the moment, not even like aggressive. I just may be like, I will get back to this later. I'm not talking right now, or just walk away. Or be like, hold that thought. I'm gonna make a couple quick non-emotional comments to be like, this is where I want the conversation to go when I come back, and then I just kind of like stop talking or walk away or ghost for a little bit. And anyone that knows me knows that I am cooling off because I don't want to say anything emotionally charged, and because it's not constructive at all for me or for them. It's just to make things worse. So especially with my significant other, I'm like, um, yeah, pause this right now. You need to cool off, or I need to cool off. I'll let you know what I'm thinking when I get back, and then we'll continue the topic. I will
Sean
explain.
and Orik, I understand what you guys are coming from. Um, it makes a good point. I'm just saying in general, I get the awareness aspect of it, but I think at the end of the day, it comes down to people's emotions, and which I don't think most people can control their emotions very well, or even take a moment aside to let a conversation go and just walk away from it. I would say a good chunk of people can't let that happen, or they get too upset about it and it's just too late.
I
We,
agree. And
we
I personally feel like that is a failure in parenting.
and society. So parents kind of follow what society trends are and whatnot, and just how they're taught in education and whatnot. I will say we are in a different kind of age, though, especially with modern internet and younger generations, where speaking about emotions, being aware of your emotions, and learning to express them properly and not while emotional is on the rise. I would say that kind of education and acceptance is increasing, And so the next step after that is, how to properly handle discussing about your emotions and how to control them yourselves and how to react appropriately as a
Well,
society and individual.
well, here's a funny thing. Don't you think because that we're at this stage is why PC culture has came about? People now
Absolutely.
expressing their emotions and their feelings now, and it's gone to almost a erratic side of where back in our parents' day and even ages a little younger than that, they were taught to bottle their emotions, stay quiet about it, and just keep on with your business and just be tough.
I think the world needs to probably do a little bit more of that than we are currently doing. I think people do need to learn to just bottle it up and deal with it themselves, because it's not everyone's problem
I
all the
see
time.
it
Now,
like
do I agree that people need to be able to share their emotions more than maybe our parents were allowed to or taught to? Absolutely. Do I think we've gone a little far? Absolutely.
I think it's one of those things where society is kind of growing up in that aspect. It's kind of like any normal kid where once they start learning how to talk, they never shut up. Or, once they learn how to run, they're running everywhere. And then eventually they're like, I don't need to run everywhere because I'm just going to trip. I kind of think society, mostly because of social media and the PC stuff, it's it's just kind of swinging to that extreme end, and then it'll kind of fall back into a neutral zone in the next 5-ish, 10 years, I think. And it won't be as extreme because, people are like, we're kind of a lot of consensus, I think, is that it's getting a little bit too excessive. The extreme minorities are getting louder and louder, and it's like, all right, let's tone it back a little bit. Not everyone's like that.
I would say
I think it's maturity for society at large that's happening right now, and
there's a
it's natural. It's
correlation
just
to
going to swing
everything.
really hard one way.
Yeah, there's a correlation to everything, but you have to remember that a lot of this stuff is amplified because of new technology like social media, ways to keep connected with large numbers of people you've never met or interacted with before. Like, there's no reason, in all practicality, that someone from California has to insult someone from Saudi Arabia for a tweet, even though they've never met each other, never interacted, never had anything to do with each other. Um, so you take into factor stuff like that where people really don't need to be in someone else's business, and the fact that people are trying to have these conversations and developments on a personal level and as society as a whole. It's just the timing of things with the nature of technology and all that stuff, where all this stuff seems amplified. Otherwise, if you took a scenario, let's say there was no social media, just back to where it was in the 70s and 80s, people were trying to have these conversations. It'd be a longer effort to get people to talk about emotions and stuff like that more. Certainly, social media has helped speed that process up. I think that's all it is as Dean was saying, it just made it much faster. And because there's a much faster process, there's a bigger swing, there's a bigger correction that has to just kind of like the stock market. The stock market corrects itself and then it gets back. It drops hard and then it corrects itself, or it goes really high and then it falls and corrects itself. Society acts the same way. We just see it on the longer term scale. It goes far, it goes extreme, and then it has to correct itself and get back onto that neutral path.
Everything's a pendulum. It's on a pendulum. It'll swing far, and then we got to come back.
Everything's a spectrum. So what needs to be done is we focus on as it swings back towards the neutral, with everyone having more knowledge and awareness, teaching the proper skills to handle when the pendulum starts swinging.
Stress.
Yeah.
Emotion.
So I think that's what that comes down to.
I agree.
Well,
teach them how to dream properly.
yeah, if you're not dreaming of giant worms on the French countryside, then I really don't see you as equal value on this earth.
We can't have a conversation
I
as
only dream of
equal.
worms on the German countryside. I don't know what you're talking about.
And
man.
you're just a lesser person because of that, and I refuse to hear otherwise. So.
Wow, that is rude. I'm gonna have to.
It's not
cancel
rude.
you.
It's just facts.
You are now canceled.
I can't help that you are offended by facts. So.
I'm gonna have to go to my safe space now. All right. So.
Well, yeah, that was an interesting conversation. Definitely went in a different direction than it started out.
Crazy segues.
Yeah, just totally natural. So, Sean, thank you for joining us surprisingly on this interesting episode. We'll
You're very
definitely be
welcome.
happy
Hopefully,
to
I
see you
didn't
again.
scare you off.
Say that again.
Is that hopefully I didn't scare you off?
No. I
Maybe
felt
we'll have him back.
I felt a little lackluster with the topic approach because I know we talk a lot, but I was like, I've never talked about this, and I was like, I was not prepared for myself because I was just nothing was coming to mind when I was thinking about previous dreams and whatnot. I was like, oh my god, I usually can talk about this at any time. So that's a bit lackluster on my end for a poor delivery, but nonetheless, I enjoyed your opinions and your voice and your thoughts, especially with PC awareness. Any final words you might want to share or have about anything? Maybe about how to properly
Special
dream.
guest.
Yeah, or how to dream or whatever.
No.
No.
If something someone says pisses you off, learn more about it, or just go somewhere else. You don't have to talk to them ever again.
Good idea. All right. Orik, Brandon, any final thoughts, gentlemen?
Final thoughts. Not too much. I think we hit a lot of good points, and I don't think we should stretch out any more than that for today.
Yeah.
But great conversation. I definitely enjoyed it. This is how people should talk.
I definitely
agree.
thought about a couple stuff differently because of that, for sure. I think about it a lot, but I never actually have a discussion about it too often. So I think a lot of people do that.
All I would say is if you're finding yourself being a lot more emotionally charged, check your sleep schedule. That might help fix you up a little bit. But otherwise, it's not the end of the world to have a conversation with someone you disagree with.
Good point.
Are you saying I'm unhinged, Orik? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't get enough
We'll
sleep?
talk-
Is that what you're trying to say?
We'll talk about this after the recording. Shut it.
You know what? It sounds like I need to walk away from this conversation.
What did you say?
Don't make me come over there.
So
I wish you would.
I will reach across this street.
I wish you would come over here.
I will pull this car over right now.
Still, I'll be there in 18 hours.
Okay. All right. This was fun.
all right, well, thank you again, everyone, for listening to another episode of Unfiltered Pineapple. I am Dean, joined by Orik and Brandon, and our special guest friend Sean. We will see you all in the next episode. Be sure to like, dislike, heart, favorite, share, anything, social media, and everything. Feel free to give us your thoughts about either whatever we talked about today. I'm pretty sure
Hashtag up podcast.
we didn't trigger anyone for sure.
Tragger?
Tragger, yeah.
Oh my.
You can't.
You mean
trust us.
trigger?
So, all right. See you in the next one, everyone.